Hey guys, this is Ultima from S3R Gamers. Let's talk about Undertale. Undertale was released on Steam on September 15th, 2015. Since then, it's sold over 500,000 copies, which is a lot for a game developed by one person. And the game was received incredibly well. It's actually rated the 5th best game on Metacritic in the year 2015. The game was only outrated by Grand Theft Auto 5, the PC version, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt PC version, and the console versions of the Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Now, it's a pretty good company to be in. Now, also, a bit of a controversial thing happened. A few months after its release, Undertale won the Best Game Ever poll that GameFAQs held for its 20th anniversary. Now, some things aside, arguably that there was some brigading going on by Tumblr and Reddit to ensure that the game won. There's a question, I think, that is sort of raised when a game like this comes out. That's popular, a game that's good. Because I want to be clear, I'm not saying Undertale is not a good game. Undertale is a good game. It is. In my experience, it's a very good game. But is a game that's not even been out a year, could it really be called one of the best games of all time? Is it the best game of 2015? Yeah, pretty arguable. Is it the best game of 1985 to 2015? Oh man, well, how do you answer that? First of all, I want to talk about this era we live in where games shoot up in popularity overnight thanks to YouTube and Let's Players and people like PewDiePie and Markiplier and other YouTubers who aren't even as popular as them, but they can skyrocket the popularity of a certain game. Anyone remember Slender the 8 Pages? Anyone remember Five Nights at Freddy's? Remember how popular those games were? Remember how good of a horror game those things were? Now, Slender sort of disappeared into obscurity, but Five Nights at Freddy's still going pretty strong. However, the longer it's been out, the more critique you see over Five Nights at Freddy's. The more critical people there are over the actual legitimacy of how good the game is. See, we live in an era where things can shoot up in popularity, but they can be moved on very quickly. Now, see, back, not to sound old, but, back when the internet wasn't as big as it was, and when it comes to gaming, I'm a bit of an old guard. Been playing since the NES in like 1991, 90. And games would come out and they'd sort of just come and go and they'd just sort of stew. And, their place in history would just sort of establish itself. But games these days, it's so quick. Everything moves so fast. So Undertale being out months now, people were sort of almost equating to years. But the reality is, it's still only been months. Now, Undertale is a good game. I might have already stated that, but it is. I just want to reiterate, because I don't want anyone to think I'm criticizing the game. I think I'm criticizing this idea that we can establish a game as one of the greatest of all time before it's done what all other great games have to do, and that's stand the test of time. There's a lot of games that people nowadays go back to and look at, and then they question it. They pull it through with a fine-tooth comb. Final Fantasy VII, which is one of my favorite games of all time, while for the most part still widely regarded as very good, receives a lot of criticism now for whether the game's aged properly or whether the game's more of a product of its era than anything else. And so that begs the question, is Undertale just a product of its era? Is the over-the-top silliness just sort of fit in with the current meme culture? Did the game just happen to be in the right place at the right time in terms of Let's Plays? Now, ultimately, I think this game is good. But is it one of the greatest of all time? You know, I don't know. I don't. But in my opinion, what makes a game one of the greatest of all time is that it's one of the greatest of all time. Time. There's that word. Time. My opinion, you got to give things time before you start attaching certain words to it. Now, I got into an argument with someone on Reddit who said that with my logic, only old games could be good. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, I feel like after a certain amount of time of still feeling like a game's still good, as games before it come out and as games behind it are still around even more, that it's established, you know? Did the game carve out its place in history, or was it just a footnote in a period of time? And I guess that's the question. Is Undertale just going to be a footnote? Or is Undertale going to carve out its place in gaming history? We can't know that yet. I think the game will be alright in the long run, and I think Toby Fox probably has a good future in video gaming. But we just don't know. I hate to say it, Internet, but you're a really fickle mistress right now in this day and age. You might hate Undertale in a year, which is sad because your fickleness is sort of the same thing that made Undertale so popular, was because you're so quick to jump on something, but you're also so quick to jump off. So maybe just wait. Just let the water settle. And if Undertale, that boat's still floating when the waves are done crashing, then we know, hey, we got on an all-time great. But until then, all we know is we got a pretty good game for right now. And let's just see how we feel about it in the future. But anyways, guys, this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. But this is where I think me and a lot of, I'd say, older gamers come from. Our games, our favorite games, are immediately dismissed as nostalgia and whatnot. Just some thoughts. Please don't hurt me. I really do like Undertale. Please don't dislike this video just because you think I'm bashing the game. I'm not bashing the game. I just think it's something we all need to think about. And this doesn't just apply to Undertale. This applies to any game. If there's a game that comes out this year that I'll absolutely love, and you hear me say, oh, this is the greatest game of all time, or one of the greatest games of all time, you can point this video right back at me and say, boy, you're a hypocrite. And I'll gladly take that. But I'm just saying, game on, fellas. Let's just game on. And let's not be so hasty to try to establish these grand titles on things too fast. Because what's the rush? We're not going anywhere. Neither of these games. So thanks for watching the first episode of Let's Talk About. And I'll see you guys in the next one.